Most people think they can recognize wealth the moment they see it. A luxury car pulls up beside them. Designer logos catch their attention. A gold watch flashes beneath a tailored suit. Without knowing anything about the person's finances, they quietly conclude, that person must be rich. Now imagine another man. His shoes are worn. His phone is several years old. He drives an aging sedan and rarely talks about money. If he walked past you today, chances are you wouldn't look twice. Yet if you opened both bank accounts, compared their investments, businesses, and assets, you might discover something surprising. The first man owns expensive things. The second man owns the things that produce money. They may look similar on the surface, but financially, they live in completely different worlds. Before we go any further, make one small decision your future self may thank you for. Subscribe. Wealth is built through small decisions that compound over time. If you want to make better financial decisions, this channel is here to help. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Our brains are remarkably poor at recognizing genuine wealth. Human beings evolved to notice visible status. We instinctively associate expensive possessions with success because they're easy to see. But wealth itself is largely invisible. A rental property doesn't announce itself every morning. Shares in a profitable company don't sparkle like a diamond watch. Cash quietly invested for 20 years attracts far less attention than a luxury car bought last weekend. Real wealth often hides behind ordinary choices, while debt frequently disguises itself as success. This is why so many people spend years trying to look wealthy instead of becoming wealthy. The difference is enormous. One buys attention, the other buys freedom. Once you understand that distinction, you'll begin noticing signs that most people completely overlook. The first sign is surprisingly simple. Sign 1. They don't feel the need to look rich. People who have genuine wealth rarely feel pressured to prove it. That's because wealth changes what status means. Someone trying to appear successful depends on other people's approval. Someone who is financially secure depends on productive assets that continue working whether anyone notices them or not. When your investments pay your bills, your confidence no longer comes from strangers admiring your lifestyle. It comes from knowing your future is becoming more secure every year. This is why many genuinely wealthy people wear simple clothes, keep older cars longer than expected, and avoid unnecessary displays of luxury. They understand something many people never learn. Status is rented. Ownership is permanent. The wealth builder eventually learns that dressing to impress strangers rarely improves his balance sheet. Buying another productive asset often does. That brings us to the second sign. Sign 2. Their lifestyle grows slower than their income. One of the biggest financial traps in modern society is lifestyle inflation. A higher salary arrives. Soon comes the bigger apartment, the newer car, the luxury vacation, the expensive restaurants. Income rises. So does spending. From the outside, it looks like success. Behind the scenes, very little wealth is actually being created. Genuinely wealthy people often do the opposite. When their income increases, only a small portion goes toward improving their lifestyle. The rest quietly purchases assets, businesses, investments, real estate, dividend-paying companies. Every extra dollar is asked a simple question. Will you make me richer tomorrow, or simply look richer today? That single habit creates a widening gap over time. Two people can earn exactly the same income for 20 years. One finishes with memories of expensive purchases. The other finishes with financial independence. Not because they earned differently, because they allocated differently. And that's where the third sign begins to reveal itself. Sign 3. They protect their time more than their money. Most people become upset about losing $100. Genuinely wealthy people become far more concerned about losing an entire afternoon. Money can usually be earned again. Time cannot. As wealth grows, the most valuable asset is no longer cash. It's attention, it's energy, it's the ability to decide how every hour is spent. That's why financially successful people become increasingly selective about meetings, commitments, distractions, and even conversations. They understand that every wasted hour delays decisions that could create value for years to come. The wealth builder slowly discovers that protecting his calendar often produces greater returns than obsessing over every small expense. Because in the end, money follows value, and value almost always begins with how wisely time is invested. Sign 4. They ask different questions. Listen carefully when money comes up in conversation. Most people ask, "How much does it cost?" Genuinely wealthy people are more likely to ask, "What will it produce?" That single change in thinking separates consumers from owners. When they look at a property, they don't imagine living in it first. They wonder whether it can generate rental income. When they look at a business, they don't focus on its popularity. They study its cash flow. When they buy shares, they don't ask whether the stock will rise next week. They ask whether the company will still be creating value 10 years from now. The question is never about the price alone. It's about the return. This is why two people can walk into the same investment opportunity and leave with completely different decisions. One sees an expense, the other sees an asset. The wealth builder gradually realizes that wealth isn't created by finding better answers. It's created by asking better questions. And those questions quietly shape every financial decision that follows. Sign 5. They are difficult to impress. Luxury has a strange effect on people. For someone chasing status, a luxury car feels like a destination. For someone who understands wealth, it's simply another product with a price tag. Genuinely wealthy people are surprisingly resistant to marketing because they understand what marketing is designed to do. It sells emotion before logic. It convinces people that buying something expensive will change how they feel about themselves. Sometimes it does, but only temporarily. Financial security works differently. It isn't built through emotional purchases. It's built through rational decisions repeated consistently over many years. The Stoics believed freedom begins when external things lose their power over your judgment. The same principle applies to money. The harder you become to impress, the harder you become to manipulate. And the harder you are to manipulate, the easier it becomes to build wealth. Sign 6. They quietly build systems. Most people earn money only when they are working. Genuinely wealthy people spend years building systems that continue producing value after the work has already been done. A business continues serving customers. An investment portfolio continues generating returns. Rental properties continue producing income. Royalties continue arriving. Dividends continue being paid. None of these systems appear overnight. They are built patiently, improved gradually, and maintained with discipline. This explains why many wealthy people seem unusually calm. They aren't relying on next month's paycheck alone. Multiple systems are working quietly in the background. The wealth builder eventually stops asking, "How can I earn more?" Instead, he begins asking, "What can I build today that will still create value years from now?" That question changes everything, because wealth is rarely the reward for working harder. More often, it's the reward for building something that keeps working. Sign 7. They value freedom more than luxury. Ask most people what they would do if they became rich. Many immediately picture sports cars, designer clothes, expensive holidays, or enormous houses. Ask someone who has already built lasting wealth. Their answer is often much simpler. They want control over their time. The freedom to choose the work they enjoy. The ability to walk away from unhealthy environments. More time with family. The opportunity to travel without asking permission. The peace that comes from knowing an unexpected expense won't become a personal crisis. Notice something important. None of these require looking wealthy. They require being wealthy. That's the difference most people miss. Luxury can be rented for a weekend. Freedom cannot. Freedom must be built. Every investment, every productive asset, every disciplined financial decision is quietly purchasing another piece of tomorrow's independence. The wealth builder finally understands that genuine wealth isn't measured by how expensive his lifestyle appears. It's measured by how many choices his financial systems give him. And that realization leads to perhaps the most misunderstood signs of all. Those are the signs almost nobody notices, because they exist entirely beneath the surface. Sign 8. They are comfortable saying no. One of the clearest signs of genuine wealth has nothing to do with money. It's the ability to walk away. Walk away from a bad investment. Walk away from unnecessary spending. Walk away from opportunities that promise quick riches but demand reckless risk. People struggling financially often feel they must say yes to everything because every opportunity looks like a possible escape. Financially secure people think differently. They know that every yes also means saying no to something else. Every dollar spent today loses the chance to compound tomorrow. Every unnecessary commitment steals time from more valuable work. This is the hidden power of wealth. It gives you options. The wealth builder eventually realizes that discipline isn't about making more decisions. It's about making fewer, but making them exceptionally well. That is why wealthy people often appear surprisingly patient. They're not waiting because they're uncertain. They're waiting because they can afford to. Sign 9. They spend more time learning than showing. Knowledge is one of the few assets that appreciates without asking permission. Markets change. Technology evolves. Businesses rise and fall. But the ability to understand opportunity becomes more valuable with every lesson learned. This is why genuinely wealthy people often disappear from public attention. They're reading annual reports while others scroll social media. They're studying industries while others study celebrities. They're learning new skills while others compare lifestyles. To an outsider, it may look boring. To them, it's preparation. Every book, every conversation, every financial statement, every business analysis becomes another brick in a foundation that compounds for decades. The Stoics believed wisdom begins by accepting how much remains to be learned. Wealth follows the same path. The moment someone believes they already know enough, their financial growth often begins to slow. The wealth builder comes to understand that the greatest investment isn't always found in a brokerage account. Sometimes it's found in the discipline of continually educating the person making every financial decision. Sign 10. Their wealth is invisible. Perhaps the greatest irony of all is this. The richer someone becomes, the less obvious their wealth often appears. Because genuine wealth rarely sits in a driveway. It sits inside businesses, investment portfolios, commercial buildings, productive farmland, private companies, intellectual property, dividend-paying stocks, cash reserves waiting patiently for the next opportunity. These assets don't attract attention, they attract income. And income quietly buys even more assets. Meanwhile, someone trying to look wealthy may own impressive possessions, but very little that actually produces money. One lifestyle is designed to be admired, the other is designed to endure. That is why appearances are such poor financial evidence. You can borrow money to buy luxury. You cannot borrow genuine financial freedom. It must be built, decision by decision, year after year. The wealth builder no longer judges success by what he sees. He asks a different question. What continues producing value long after the purchase is forgotten? That single question reveals more about someone's financial future than any watch, car, or designer label ever could. Because in the end, the biggest sign that someone is genuinely rich isn't what they own. It's what they no longer need to prove. The truly wealthy understand a truth that most people spend their entire lives chasing. Money that is displayed attracts attention. Money that is invested creates freedom. And freedom has never needed an audience.